Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackel. Tonight we are talking a very interesting topic, two things that really don't go hand in hand. COVID-19, the coronavirus, and college baseball. There is a big story in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, where the College World Series is being played right now. It's an incident that the NCAA didn't want to have to deal with, schools didn't want to have to deal with, and really nobody wanted to have to deal with, but we're watching it play out. It involved the team basically having to forfeit. Fletcher, if you can really quickly here, we have Fletcher Mackel, our sports anchor, joining us, and we have UNO head coach Blake Dean, who also played in the College World Series with LSU a couple of years ago, to talk about this topic. Fletcher, if you can, kind of get us to where we are right here. What happened with NC State at the College World Series?
All right, so NC State is one of the teams, kind of the Cinderella story of the College World Series, a team that was playing to advance to the national championship round. They had an outbreak of the coronavirus in their program, so they played one game with a decimated roster, only 13 players, I believe. Once they did that, the NCAA said that was enough, and they basically removed them from competition, playing Vanderbilt to advance to the national championship. So NC State, who was in the driver's seat and had a chance to play for, was potentially going to have a chance to play for a national championship, because of an outbreak of COVID-19, players who had not been vaccinated testing positive, other players who had been vaccinated, testing positive as well. They decided, the NCAA, that they just didn't have enough healthy players to move forward in a competitive way. So they removed them from the College World Series. So now the national championship, best 2 out of 3 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, will be Vanderbilt versus Mississippi State. And yes, this has been something that has sparked a lot of conversation, because the stadium in Omaha is packed to capacity with 21,000 fans. Yet the teams still have to go through the protocols. Baseball is somewhat of a socially distant sport. So this incident has become a lightning rod for people to talk about protocols involving the coronavirus, how it's handled, how things will be handled in the future, and really, what happened to NC State, because it's an unfortunate situation for a team that was having a great season, had advanced to the pinnacle, kind of the top of the mountain of the sport, and was maybe going to have a chance to play for a national championship.
Yeah, no, like you said, it's blowing up on social media right now. Twitter's been blowing up about it, Instagram, Facebook. I think the College World Series put a picture out saying, packed house 21,000. You don't know who's vaccinated and who's not yet. You essentially bounced the team out for not having vaccinated players. Blake, let's talk to you about this. We're going to talk to you as a head coach in a second, the head coach at UNO. You had to coach players and go through these protocols. But let's talk about you as a former player. You went to Omaha in 2008. You won a national title in 2009. What kind of emotions are these players going through right now, getting to Omaha and then getting bounced out like this over a COVID-19 protocol issue?
Yeah, I think they're probably devastated. Again, they've worked hard, kind of a Cinderella story. I think coming into the year they were ranked pretty highly, and then going to the World Series not ranked and beating some very highly ranked teams going in. Once you get that driver's seat, where they're 2-0 undefeated, kind of had the table set for them, and then you get that phone call to where over half your team's taken away. Next thing you know, you're out of it. All within a 24-hour time span. Again, I don't know how you describe that. How do you tell those guys their season's over with as a player? The seniors, the guys that have worked that hard, and you can taste it. It's right within reach, but then it's taken away. So I can only imagine how devastated those guys are.
Really quickly, talk about this. It's kind of like a brotherhood. I mean, look, players are close to each other. They become lifelong friends after they play on college teams like this. Is there any animosity? I mean, what goes on in a locker room like that, knowing that some of these guys were vaccinated and were good to go, others weren't and were bounced out? What's going on in the NC State locker room? Not that you know, but you've been in big games for big universities. What's going on there right now?
To be honest, I don't think that would play too much into it. Again, these guys are, like you said, they're brothers. They're a team. I think at that point you allow people to make their own decisions, their own choices. And again, I could be speaking out of turn here, but I think a couple of guys that, like Fletcher said, they'd already had the vaccine, but tested positive as well. So at that point, I feel like it kind of just eliminates that, that discussion. But I think more so than not, the guys are all let down. I mean, they're not pointing fingers. They're just upset that they've got so far, then have gotten things taken away from them. So again, one of those things so close that you worked all year for, gone through trials, tribulations, faced adversity. You get so close, and then it's pulled from you. So it's tough all around.
Really quickly, we're going to talk to both of you all about this. What does this mean moving forward? Obviously, COVID-19, it seems like we're on the tail end of it. The bulk of the country is vaccinated. President Joe Biden wants to get to 70%. They're urging people to get vaccines so we can get to herd immunity. But when it comes to sports in the summer, the fall, and even next spring, what does the model look like, first off, Fletcher, when it comes to the NCAA dealing with COVID-19, especially for football?
Well, we can expand it beyond the NCAA. We have an NFL team here. We have an NBA team here. And these leagues are going to have to discuss how they move forward with it. And I think that is going to be the next big talking point for sports in general. Over the last year, I remember covering some of Blake's games. We had to send media lists in because it was limited capacity. The NFL was limited or no fans. The NBA was no fans for 25 of their 30 teams. And people understood that before the vaccine, it was, we're going to play the games. We're going to test the players. No fans in the stands. We're obviously at the height of a pandemic in those late fall, winter months of 2020, 2021. But now, as you said, Travers, we are moving past it. People are becoming vaccinated. The world is opening back up. You can, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to social distance or wear a mask indoors anymore, according to the CDC. So how are leagues, because the NCAA sent out a tweet saying, thank you, fans, 22,000 packed to capacity in Omaha, but yet the players can't play. The NFL is going to deal with something similar this fall. They're expecting full capacity in the Superdome, but players who aren't vaccinated are going to have to go through the same COVID protocols. And how do you reconcile that fans don't have to be tested or proof of vaccination or anything, but the players still have to go through very stringent rules? And I think that's going to be a really hot topic debate for all sports, not just the NCAA, but Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA moving forward as we kind of continue to get past the pandemic and life gets back to normal a little bit. I will just, before we get to Blake, say one thing. Michelle Steele with ESPN did a very good report talking about NFL teams. The NFL wants to be at about 85% vaccination of all players when training camp starts. And she said what many coaches are explaining to players who say it's a personal choice and I don't want to have the vaccine. Completely everyone's choice if they want to have the vaccine or not have the vaccine. But what she said is coaches at the NFL level are explaining, if you don't have the vaccine, this could potentially hurt us as a group. It could put us at a competitive disadvantage if you don't have the shot and you test positive. Look at the NC State situation. It could potentially result in a situation like that. And I think that this will be the case study that a lot of these professional and college teams, just my opinion, use going forward, saying, if you get the vaccine, we may be free and clear of this. If you don't, this is potentially a worst case scenario for us going forward.
Yeah, and Blake, look, what's pull out your crystal ball. What does it hold in store for college athletics? I mean, look, you're going to take your cues from obviously the university that you work for, UNO, which has done a great job through COVID-19 with all of its athletic departments. I remember Fletcher and Sharif going to interview you during the season. You had a face gaiter, your players had masks. Does that stick around? How does this look? And what is your advice to your team when it comes to this? Because look, I mean, what happened to NC State could happen to anybody, like somebody from New Orleans. I hope UNO goes to the World Series next year and years after that. I think it was great when they went in the 1980s. But what is your message to your team, and what does college baseball look like moving into 2022?
Well, again, that's the big question, right? How do we universally make it productive for everybody? Because again, how can you penalize a team like NC State for, like you said, allowing 22,000 fans into a stadium stacked in there side by side, and then, I don't know what their testing guidelines are up there, but again, it just bugs me that, it's these guys are now getting penalized for something. Again, did they have control over it? Did they not have control over it? And I don't know moving forward how you make this something that's universally addressed across all platforms. That's the tough part. I mean, again, I don't know the roles and all these things, in great depth. But my thing is, if you already had the shot and then you still get it, then then what happens there? Are you still out? Does this not happen? Does this not happen? Again, there's so many different dynamics. And again, once this all started, once you open that can of worms and go down that rabbit hole, it never ends. right? There's always going to be something else that creates another problem and another problem. And it's going to continually just change over and over. For us, again, I've kind of let my guys make their own decision, right? We have nothing set in stone at the university saying you do have to have it or you don't. And again, to me, it's a personal choice. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, I'm not here to judge you or make any difference. But again, if you don't, then you need to do the right things that are set in place. Try to distance yourself, wear your mask if need be, do those type things that limit the opportunity to spread and things of that nature. And even if you do have the shot nowadays, let's be honest, the new norm has changed. It has changed. It's different.
Really quickly, Blake, final question for you as a head coach now at UNO. If you were coaching NC State, if this had happened to your team, what is your message? What is your message as you're leaving the locker room and you're heading back there, leaving Omaha, to your players? Had you gone through something like that?
Whew, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, at this point, you just got to look at the positives. But again, what are the positives? I think my message would be, I'm sorry. I mean, what more do you say? There's not much else you can say besides that. Again, they're hurting, you're hurting. Elliott Avant's been there a long time. They have the potential to, win a national championship and it be right within reach and taken away. Again, just determination. You took this program to another level. Hopefully this brings, some light upon our program and we can better recruit players, draw more interest from players, and hopefully you guys have laid down a foundation that will continue to get us back year after year. All
right, Blake Dean Fletcher, final question goes to you. I know you kind of addressed this a little bit, but moving forward, are we going to see kind of a mix-up or mixed messages, do you believe, when it comes to pro sports, NCAA sports, when it comes to COVID protocols dealing with players and fans? Is it something that all these leagues and institutions are going to have to address pretty soon here moving forward?
I think the way they're going to address it is they're going to compartmentalize it. The fans are going to be the fans, and the players and the employees of the team and of the league are going to be held to a different standard. And even at the university, that's what we're seeing right now with the NCAA. The fans aren't being held to any type of standard or policy, but the players are the ones that aren't vaccinated, were tested in Omaha, and they still have to go through the NCAA protocols when it comes to COVID. So I think that that's what we're going to see going forward. And we could see more situations like this that, Blake talked about a universal policy. There won't be a universal policy for fans and players. Fans are going to be fans. But the organizations in the leagues, like the NFL, like the NBA, like the NCAA, like universities and conferences, may have, if you're not vaccinated, you have to coach in a mask. If you're not vaccinated, you still have to get tested. If you are, you don't. So I can see, my opinion is, I think you're going to see the way the players, coaches, and teams are dealt with, and then fans are a completely different entity. And again, are people going to talk about that? Is that the best way to handle things? I don't know, but I just don't think you're going to be able to say, for the fans, the players, everybody has to have a universal blanket that they fall under and follow this policy.
All right. It's interesting. The national title is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's all SEC. It's Mississippi State versus Vanderbilt. Hopefully next year, Blake, it's UNO making a miracle run. We'll keep our fingers crossed. UNO head coach Blake Dean, we appreciate your time, former national champion at LSU, giving us good insight. And then Fletcher Mackel, my brother and our sports anchor. It's a story that's going to continue for a very long time. That is all the time that we have for the Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackel. You can see this entire segment starting Monday on WDSU.com and, of course, on all of our social media platforms.